Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League and all rugby league experience. Welcome back to the Rumour Mill, where we go through some rumours circulating around the NRL and react to them. The big one coming out of South Sydney Rabbitohs camp, and I guess also Cronulla Sharks camp. Royce Hunt reportedly talking to the Rabbitohs. Apparently the deal is done. I'm also hearing that Tom Hazelton could be in conversations with the Rabbitohs as well. I'm also hearing that Euan Aitken from the Dolphins has signed with South Sydney. The signings I don't think will be announced for another week or so, but I'm hearing those deals are done and deuced. So let's react to them. Obviously, we'll give a bigger reaction when the signings do come out on the podcast. Obviously, if you don't follow yet, our podcast is on Spotify, Apple, on all podcasting platforms. We also have the Big LEZ'S League Instagram, Big LEZ'S League _ obviously trying to grow that as much as we can. This season is going to be a big year for Big LEZ'S League, and it already has been. A lot of ups and downs, but hopefully a lot of growth too over the next few weeks. But yeah, let's talk about these rumours. Obviously, the first one, Euan Aitken. For me, I think is a huge signing for South Sydney. You know, a lot of people would say that he's not the player he once was. I think he's a great player at the moment, obviously playing in that back row role. He's been doing some great work for the Dolphins over the past few weeks, really starting to make that position his own. I feel like going to South Sydney, locking down that left edge back row. Keaon can keep the right edge. You put Cam Murray at 13. I'm even hearing rumours that Cam Murray might go to the edge and that Keaon might lock down that 13 jersey. But I think that you'd probably have to keep Cam Murray there just with his ball playing. He's probably one of the better lock forwards in the competition. When he is playing there, I'd probably keep him in that number 13 jersey. But regardless, you'd think that Euan Aitken locks down that left edge back row spot. I think he'd kill it. It'd just make that left edge a lot more dangerous. You think of what that left edge could look like moving forward for South Sydney. You know, you got Jack Whiten at the 6. You got Latrell roaming down that side as well. Euan Aitken there in the back row. You'd obviously have Alex Johnston there on the wing. In regards to who the centre is, obviously, with Jack Whiten moving into the 5'8 jersey, it could be a number of players. Obviously, Isaiah Tass could come back into this side and fill that role quite well. Campbell Graham's yet to come back into the team. He'll obviously be playing on the right-hand side. So you'd imagine that maybe a Tane Milne and Isaac Thompson, a Tyrone Munro will probably be playing on the right wing. But there are a few young guys as well coming through the ranks that could take that spot. We could even see Latrell move into the centres when Jai Gray returns. There's a lot of possibilities as to how this South Sydney side could look. But Euan Aitken there in the back row, I mean, so good. And yeah, as I said, I think he'd do a great job. I think he'd be a big signing. And he provides a ton of X factor. He's just such a goer as well. Not the biggest back row you've seen, but he's tough in defense and works so hard in attack. Also very mobile, a small, more mobile body. It's where the game is moving towards these small, more mobile players. We've seen that over the past few years. I mean, you look at Reuben Cotter through the middle of the park, you know, the role that Dylan Walker, the role that Cam McInnes, these guys are playing in their sides, the smaller, more mobile ball-playing player. These guys are becoming more and more popular, and I think that's where the game is moving to. So having Euan Aitken in this side, yes, playing on the edge, I think would be a massive, massive signing for South Sydney. Then you obviously go to and have a look at Royce Hunt coming to the club. I think he'd come off the bench and play an impact role. I think he'd do well. I think he's one of your better signings too. Just some of the games I saw from him last year, particularly there was one big one towards the back end of the year. I forget the opponent. It might have even been Melbourne, but he just came on and absolutely ripped and teared straight off the back fence. He had 2 massive carries in that game. I still can't remember who it was. It might have been Melbourne. I know it was a top 8 side. It might have even been the Roosters as well. But Royce Hunt, we know how good he can be at his best. I think off the bench can provide a ton of impact. And I've just loved the footy that I've seen from him when he has been playing. He is just such a competitor. Again, one of the more smaller front rowers in the competition, still packs on a lot of size. But, you know, with that size, just fitness, mobility, can get a quick play the ball for you as well. He's a really solid footballer, Royce Hunt. I think he'd be a great signing for South Sydney. Tom Hazelton would be probably one of the bigger ones out of the 3 we've mentioned. I mean, we've seen him really become a cult hero over there at Cronulla. Will he leave Cronulla? I'm not sure, but from what I'm hearing, there are conversations being had between his management and South Sydney. I think while it would be one of the biggest signings, Of the three, I think it's also the least likely of the three as well. Tom Hazelton, as we said, becoming a cult hero there at Cronulla. I think that he probably will stay there. And, with him starting there at the moment, I don't think he'd be going to too many other places where he probably won't be starting in those sides. So, Tom Hazelton, probably one of the more unlikely ones. But then again, if he was to go to South Sydney, I think he would start as well. And I think he'd do a very great job. He'd be a massive replacement for a Tommy Burgess, who obviously goes to the Super League next season. And obviously, if you lock him down long term, he can become a South Sydney cult hero as well. I know that's not going to be too good to hear amongst those Cronulla Sharks fans, but again, this is all just rumors. It's all just speculation, all little whispers that I've heard that I thought would be worthwhile bringing up on the podcast. Let me know what you would think would be the best signing out of those three: Euan Aitken, Tommy Hazelton, or Royce Hunt. Potentially, we could get all three, which would be massive for the club. We think about the rebuild that we're going to be going through South Sydney over the next few years. South Sydney supporter, if you couldn't already tell. I think it's a great head start getting some, really tough, willing to work for your side type forwards. Wayne's already going to be talking to a few Super League forwards to get over into that South Sydney Rabbitohs side as well. Obviously got the English halfback coming over, which is going to be really exciting too. This rebuild is going to be very interesting. How South Sydney is going to look next year is also going to be very interesting. And if we have a few of these real solid cult hero front rowers in there, as well as the new halfback, I am very excited for what the future could hold for South Sydney going into the next few years. Hopefully, getting away from the bottom of the ladder over the next few years as well. That's the main goal. Make sure if you enjoyed this podcast to subscribe. Got plenty of rugby league content coming out for you during the week. We obviously do this show, the Rumour Mill. We also do a bunch of other shows, including the Drawing Board, which is super coach related. We're also going to be potentially starting up our own rugby league show. We'll be reposting the work that we do with the Rabbitohs radio boys, that journey that we're just starting up, obviously, over the next few days. We'll post a lot of that content up here on the YouTube as well. So plenty of content coming, and obviously open to suggestions as well. Obviously a lot of Origin content coming out over the next few weeks as well. We pretty much put out our predicted sides each week leading up to Game 2, Game 3. Obviously we did it for Game 1. So if you want to go back and look at that content, you sure can. But as I said, open to suggestions. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see from Big LEZ'S League. Come and join the family if you haven't already. Subscribe to Big LEZ'S League, the YouTube. We are trying to really grow the platform this year and really start to build a community for Big LEZ'S League. So make sure you do give it a follow on Instagram, Big LEZ'S League _. Make sure to subscribe here. Obviously follow the Spotify, Apple Podcast, or podcasting platforms. We'll see you guys in the next one.